Welcome back to my channel. Last time I started a two-parter, and I did part one. That was the tragic tale of the narcissist. And in it, I talked about how this narcissist, when they were born, wasn't a narcissist at all. They were just a person, just a child, a kid. And they grew up into the world, and they had so much potential, and there's so many things they could have achieved. But instead of doing that and taking the right path in life, they chose the path of darkness. And they chose that path indeed over and over and over, until they cut themselves off from what they could have become. So part one was how the narcissists themselves, well, it's a life wasted. They had so much potential and they threw it away. But here in part two, I want to talk about something different, and I want to go the next level with it, to what could have been. So here I want to say, it wasn't just the narcissist that threw their lives away and destroyed a person's life that could have been something else. Because see, every one of those narcissists affects all kind of people throughout the course of their lives. So put this in context of maybe your relationship with the narcissist, if this was romantic in particular, but you could apply it across the board. So imagine when you go back to the beginning, and that person that you thought you were meeting, who was so wonderful, so kind, gentle, laughy, gregarious, fun to be around. You could go do almost anything and it was the greatest time. And you thought, wow, this person is amazing. Imagine that person and the relationship that could have come from that. Because see, if that person had been who you thought, you could have had an amazing life. You could have had that person to spend your life with, that partner, that companion, that helper, and you could have been that for one another, right? And you could have held hands and talked nice to each other, written sweet notes, talked kind, said nice things, picked each other up, encouraged each other. Could have had a good time just going grocery shopping, just taking a drive around your town or a day trip. You could have had that fun just going to a restaurant together. The little things of life, all those little times, those little moments, sitting back and watching a movie maybe, going on a walk around your house or your property or maybe somewhere in a town or a village near you. You could have gone to a walking trail and ridden bikes together. Maybe you have a boat, could have put the boat in, go out to the lake, enjoy fishing together, enjoy just sitting in the water, enjoy just being together. In so many instances throughout the course of your life. Maybe that person was indeed the person you were really going to spend the whole rest of your life with. Could have gotten married. You could have gone on trips together and talked about how beautiful the surroundings are on the way there. Could have seen new places, experienced new things, all the while kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. Really spending your life, really forging your life together with that person. And they were the one who was going to pick you up when you were down and take you to the hospital when you needed it. Nurse you back to health. Encourage you when you needed it. Have your back when few other people, if anybody, did. Really be that true helper, that true man and wife that the Bible talks about that God intended people to be. And you would have been all of those things back to them. It would have been beautiful. And not just for you two, but for your kids. Maybe they have kids, maybe you have kids. Maybe you were going to have kids together. And you could have taken them fishing and hiking and had family time and played games, gone to church together, had Bible studies. Hopefully you're into that. Could have had just those one-on-one daughter times, daddy-daughter, mommy-daughter, daddy-son, mommy-son, whatever, those wonderful, beautiful little times where you get to spend with the child. Maybe you were going to be a stepmom or a stepdad to a child who never had one in their lives. And let's just say it's like in my situation, guy, and maybe could have been a stepson. And maybe you could have shown him how to fish and defend himself and talk him through the everyday things of life and talk about girls together, as they grow up and they start to experience people of the opposite sex, and they interact and they tell their little stories about dances and just who's got a crush on who and all those wonderful little things. Maybe it's the other way around. You're going to be a stepmom, and you could have taken that daughter-in-law, not daughter-in-law, but stepdaughter, to pick out her prom dress, talk about boys. Just, you go to stores, pick out cosmetics, whatever it is you're going to do. And you could have been that person. So it isn't just about the narcissist and the partner, but the kids. Then you extend it out. In-laws, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, parents, step-parents. All of these sorts of things factor in. And the narcissist touches so many lives throughout the course of time. And they could have been a fixture. Someone who took other people to a new level. Someone who was there for others. This is the life that could have happened, transpired between two people, between you or me and the narcissist. This is all the things that could have been a beautiful life of abundance, of joy, of peace, a true family, forging a marriage together, having that dependable individual to spend the rest of your life with. But that's all what could have been. Because after you've been in the relationship with the narcissist, you realize that what could have been never could have been. Not really. Because all of those things are illusions. Those are the things that can only happen with a kind, decent, considerate, genuine, authentic, caring, loving individual. Not a narcissist. They can do none of those things. So when you realize that, and that's the hard reality to grasp, at some point during or post-relationship, is that what could have been never could have been. Because they're a narcissist. Put another way, if only the narcissist wasn't a narcissist. But they were and they are, aren't they? So all those hopes and dreams and aspirations and things that could have been so beautiful, they're gone. And you realize that not only are they gone, but they never were. They're like dust. They're like that statue you hold in your hand and it just turns to dust and it's gone. And you realize it never was. And that's why the narcissist wears a mask. Because that's not who they are. It's inauthentic. It's to fool you. They masquerade. And they do it usually as an angel of light to trick you. And all those things that they presented and promised and all that could have been, not just for the narcissist's life, but for your life and for their kids and your family and friends and extended and all of that could have been never could have been because they're a narcissist. That's the trick and that's the catch, isn't it? So the narcissist is a tragic tale. Their life is a tragic tale. Not just for them, but for you and for me and for all the world. It's that tragic tale of what could have been until you realized it could not have been because of who they are. So I want you to know and think about this. The narcissist goes through their lives, destroying like an evil vortex. I always talk about this, that swirls and goes through and pulls everything and sucks everything in. And everyone along their path thought something greater could have come out of it. And some of us look back at the narcissist and say, wow, what talent they had, what maybe beauty they had in some cases, what abilities, skills. They could have brought so much into this world and into my life and your life and the lives of everyone around them, except for there was no way that was ever going to happen. That's the mask. And see, the mask is not just encompassing who they are. The mask is that illusion of what could have been for so many other people that they'll communicate with throughout the course of their lives. And it's not just you. In the narcissist life, the one you know, the one I know, there's a whole tale that is untold that you don't know about. A whole litany of individuals, of partners, of family members, of partners' kids, of their kids, that were affected by the narcissist. And every one of their lives could have been more beautiful and more wonderful and more incredible because of that person. You see, I want you to understand, the narcissist is a tragic tale. And I talked about in the last one, and I talk about so frequently, that they get what they deserve, and they will get what they deserve. And there's a measure of frustration with the narcissist that you will never totally get over or grasp. You can't wrap your head around what they do. And it's frustrating that they seemingly get away so oftentimes with what they do, at least for a time. But don't lose sight of the fact that they are a tragic tale. Not only what they lost for themselves, what they could have become but never will, not only because their life was wasted, not only because they are reprobates who will ultimately, most of them, who will ultimately be condemned at the end, but it's also a tragic shame for everyone else they encounter throughout their lives. And you can't help but feel that loss. The crazy thing is, you feel the loss in their lives that they should feel for their lives. And you feel the loss for their kids that they don't feel because they can't feel. And you feel the loss for yourself. But like I said, all of those things are vapor. They're illusions. The mask runs deep. It runs deeper than who they are. So I want to just give you this perspective over the last couple, because I spend a lot of my time just crushing the narcissist, and rightfully so. Because if you've encountered them, really encountered them, you know how deeply evil they are. And they are carbon copies of their master, the devil, Satan. They are his foot soldiers, and don't ever mistake that. Don't ever feel so sorry for them that you let them back into your lives. No. 2 Timothy 3:5. Have nothing to do with such people. And he's talking about narcissists. Don't feel so sorry that you let them back in. Because like I said, they'll just destroy you and everyone around them. Because that's all they know how to do. Wasn't enough to destroy their own lives. But still, there's that other side where you can understand. And you feel that pity and you feel that anguish for the life that could have been. So I just did these last two. Really totally unscripted. These are almost all unscripted. I just think about it before I do it. I don't read off a prompt. And what hits me, hits me. I have a game plan, but in these last two, I just wanted to show you the deeply sad human element of all of this. That even though the narcissist is what they are, they're a tragic story. And they're not just a tragic story for themselves, but they are for everyone they interact with, who bought into the mask, who thought life was going to be great with this person, or there'd be value, there'd be something worth having, and maybe long-term building a life. And for all the people out there who got with the narcissist and got close to their kids and spent time and developed that relationship just to have it snatched out away from you. Or if you had children and they got to know the narcissist and they developed a relationship and that got snatched away from them, the collateral damage is huge with every one of these vortexes that go through the world. So I just wanted to give you this perspective and some things to think about. With all the negativity and with all the awareness I'm trying to spread about narcissism, there's also that element where their life really is a tragic tale. It's a story of what could have been, but never could have been. And not just for them, for everybody else. So think about that one for a while. I'm going to get back on some of my typical narcissistic discussions, but I want to put this out there. And I also wanted to do it to let you guys know each and every time you think, man, he's so hard on them. Understand that I also have this other side where I get it. The tragedy that is the narcissist. I fully understand it. And I do feel bad for them in some ways. But I feel equally bad for everybody else that they destroy throughout the course of their lives. So I'll be back at you with some more, but until then, God bless.